Good morning. My name is Holly Martin, and I am here today to speak on behalf of someone I admire and love. My husband Mark is currently serving his country in Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. He cannot be here today. Obviously, he can't be here today to address you the way I know he would want to, but I know Mark better than anyone. And I have come here today to tell you a little bit about him and share with you why I think he needs to be the next representative for District 45A. A couple of years ago, after he came home from Iraq, and before Afghanistan was even on the radar, Mark was restless. He was just completing his master's at the University of Minnesota, and I could tell that his mind was going a million miles an hour without exercise in academia that he'd grown so accustomed to. It was about this time that he came to me and shared with me his intent to run for the Minnesota State House of Representatives. Now, I'm not a political person. This is my first time here. Politics gives me headaches. And you can ask anyone how evil I get when there's endless campaign commercials on TV. We all know what I'm talking about attacking this person and that. But I know Mark, and once he had made up his mind, there was no talking him out of it. Mark was running for the House. I had some trepidation, still do. And I have some concerns about the stress it would bring and the time it would take away from our family. But then I began to realize how Mark was seeing it. No wife wants to see her husband go off to war. But I understand that Mark's desire to serve his country is part of what makes him the man I love. And so I come to understand that Mark's desire to serve his state and community is no different. It is simply who he is. In Mark's vision, good people cannot sit idly by while their community collapses around them and their neighbors struggle without competent leaders to represent them in Congress. Mark is that leader we need. Mark has been a soldier for as long as I've known him. He served as a company commander in combat with the Red Bulls in Iraq in 2006 to 2007, and his unit had the distinction of having served the longest combat tour of any unit in Iraq. Today, he's a combat advisor to a company commander in the Afghan army working on the front lines to bring security and stability back to a friendly democracy. With that comes all the leadership experience that the United States Army has given him over the course of the last 20 years. It's that same proven leadership ability that has been showcased on 3 different continents in 2 different wars, which makes him the right person for this job. Mark is a staunch conservative. By that I mean that he will always weigh the costs, ideologically and financially, before he makes a decision. Today we find ourselves in the middle of one of the worst recessions in recent years. How did we get here? Mark would say that it starts with writing checks when you know there's no money in the account to cover them. All of the ballots and all of the TARP money and all of the posturing by politicians about how we need to save our economy has been ineffective. We're still suffering from an unemployment rate higher than anything we've seen in the last 30 years. Everything the government does costs money. And he's right. Minnesota doesn't lack for good causes to spend taxpayer dollars. Just look at our state's current budget deficit and you will see what I mean. I hear him say all the time that we're the 7th highest taxed state in the union, yet we have a $4.5 billion budget deficit. Something's wrong in St. Paul. Something needs to change. I believe that Mark is capable of leading that change both here in our district and in St. Paul where our laws are made. Right now, Mark is sharing the principles of democracy with the Afghan people, which is good practice for him because we need him to come home and give a refresher course on basic democracy to the legislature in St. Paul. The solution to this problem begins right here. It boils down to who we choose to send forth and represent in this legislature. Mark is someone who will not buckle under the pressure of making tough decisions. He will steadfastly stand up for us and represent us and our interests in the State House. I know him. I know what he stands for. I hope you will stand with him and me and send a message to Sandra Peterson and the DFL. Real change is coming. And all of you are the ones who can make it happen. Endorse him at the next endorsing convention, which will lead our party back to St. Paul for District 45A. Thank you.